Hello and welcome to another lesson about the elements of fiction. Specifically, here we're going to talk about mood and tone, literary mood and tone. When we look at the word tone, there's a few different definitions that we could consider. The first is maybe musical tone or muscular tone. You know, if you're someone who's big on high reps, low weight, you may be more tone. We're going to look specifically though at the literary definition of tone. Mood refers to the atmosphere or feeling created by a literary work, whereas tone refers to the author's attitude toward the subject or audience. One of the best examples that I have to show mood and tone is The Most Dangerous Game, because both mood and tone are conveyed through like this descriptive language, this back and forth between the two characters, Whitney, who we'll meet, and Rainsford, and the imagery that is created. And we'll point all of that out and how those create that mood and that tone. Becoming good identifiers of the feelings that mood and tone convey makes you a better reader. So let's get to it. The Most Dangerous Game. Off there to the right somewhere is a large island, said Whitney. It's rather a mystery. What island is it? Rainsford asked. The old charts call it Ship Trap Island, Whitney replied. A suggestive name, isn't it? Sailors have a curious dread of the place. I don't know why. Some superstition. Can't see it, remarked Rainsford, trying to peer through the dank, tropical night that was palpable as it pressed its thick, warm blackness in upon the yacht. You've got eyes, said Whitney with a laugh, and I've seen you pick off a moose moving in the brown fall brush at 400 yards, but even you can't see 4 miles or so through a moonless Caribbean night. Nor 4 yards, admitted Rainsford. Ugh, it's like moist black velvet. There will be light in Rio, promised Whitney. We should make it in a few days. I hope the Jaguar guns have come from Purdy's. We should have some good hunting up at the Amazon. Great sport, hunting. The best sport in the world, agreed Rainsford. For the hunter, amended Whitney, not for the Jaguar. Don't talk rot, Whitney, said Rainsford. You're a big game hunter, not a philosopher. Who cares how a Jaguar feels? Perhaps the Jaguar does, observed Whitney. Bah, they've no understanding. Even so, I rather think they understand one thing: fear. The fear of pain and the fear of death. Nonsense, laughed Rainsford. This hot weather is making you soft, Whitney. Be a realist. The world is made up of 2 classes, the hunters and the huntees. Luckily, you and I are hunters. Do you think we've passed that island yet? I can't tell in the dark. I hope so. Why? Asked Rainsford. The place has a reputation, a bad one. Cannibals? Suggested Rainsford. Hardly. Even cannibals wouldn't live in such a godforsaken place, but it's gotten into sailor lore somehow. Didn't you notice that the crew's nerves seemed a bit jumpy today? They were a bit strange now that you mention it. Even Captain Nielsen. Yes, I've seen that tough-minded old Swede who'd go up to the devil himself and ask for a light. Those fishy blue eyes held a look I never saw there before. All I could get out of them was, "This place has an evil name among seafaring men, sir." Then he said to me very gravely, "Don't you feel anything? As if the air about us was actually poisonous. Now you mustn't laugh when I tell you this. I did feel something like a sudden chill. There was no breeze. The sea was as flat as a plate glass window. We were drawing near the island then. What I felt was a mental chill, a sort of sudden dread." Pure imagination, said Rainsford. One superstitious sailor can taint the whole ship's company with his fear. So in a couple different ways here, we've talked about one specific feeling, and that's fear. The fear the Jaguar feels, and how one superstitious sailor can taint the whole ship's company with his fear. Now, we have a feeling that has been created, and the author made specific choices to describe things in the story. The author, Rich O'Connell, did not need to title the island Ship Trap Island, but he did so. And we know that they're on a yacht, and so it's not a big leap to say, oh, well, they might get trapped on Ship Trap Island, right? They don't know where they are. We know what kind of mystery the moon and darkness create, because you can't see, not even 4 yards, according to Rainsford. So we're creating sort of this feeling in the characters, and to kind of create an even deeper sort of feel the author describes things in a few different ways. The sea was as flat as a plate glass window. Like, how still is that? Have you ever driven past like a lake at night? You can't even, there's not a wave on the lake. It's just as flat as a plate glass window. A couple lines up here as we start to look at this one here. Can't see it, remarked Rainsford, trying to peer through the dank tropical night that was palpable as it pressed its thick, warm blackness in upon the yacht. I don't know about you, but in Minnesota, I have felt of some very humid days. They're almost heavy. You sweat almost the second you go out the door, right? That's that dank tropical feeling. And it's palpable sometimes. Like, you can feel it. Like I said, it almost feels heavy. The air almost feels heavy. And in this case, as it pressed its thick, warm blackness in upon the yacht, you can kind of start to feel what that feels like. We can relate to that. We can sort of create this with them. Moonless Caribbean night is another one. Moist black velvet. We are creating this feeling of how still and how dark it is. And then you pair that with sort of the eeriness of the island and how even the ship captains are nervous. And the fact that it's called Ship Trap Island is probably making everybody nervous. This is done on purpose. This is the mood of the story. This is how the characters feel in the story. So what's the tone? Tone is going to include certain words like suspense. You can get a feel that some certain suspense is growing here. Something big is about to happen because it's heavy, it's dark, and they're passing an island that is very scary and has a bad reputation, right? So you're kind of getting this suspenseful feeling. It's very foreboding, like what's going to happen. Like a lot has been foreshadowed here. For something to be upcoming, it's a very foreboding feel. And so here's what we're going to do. I am going to present on the screen in just a moment here another chunk of the story. And what I want you to identify is the mood and the tone and how you know that, how you got there, what lines in the story, what descriptions in the story, what imagery, what dialogue, what descriptive language led you to your decisions on what the mood is and what the tone is, how you came to those details based on what you read in the story.
The general smiled. I had no wish to go to pieces, he said. I must do something. Now, mine is an analytical mind, Mr. Rainsford. Doubtless, that is why I enjoy the problems of the chase. No doubt, General Zaroff. So, continued the general, I asked myself why the hunt no longer fascinated me. You are much younger than I am, Mr. Rainsford, and have not hunted as much. But perhaps you can guess the answer. What was it? Simply this. Hunting had ceased to be what you call a sporting proposition. It had become too easy. I always got my quarry. Always. There is no greater bore than perfection. The general lit a fresh cigarette. No animal had a chance with me anymore. That is no boast, it is a mathematical certainty. The animal had nothing but his legs and his instinct. Instinct is no match for reason. When I thought of this, it was a tragic moment for me, I can tell you. Rainsford leaned across the table, absorbed in what his host was saying. It came to me as an inspiration what I must do, the general went on. And that was? The general smiled, the quiet smile of one who has faced an obstacle and surmounted it with success. I had to invent a new animal to hunt, he said. A new animal? You're joking. Not at all, said the general. I never joke about hunting. I needed a new animal. I found one. So I bought this island, built this house, and here I do my hunting. The island is perfect for my purposes. There are jungles with a maze of trails in them, hills, swamps. But the animal, General Zaroff? Oh, said the general. It supplies me with the most exciting hunting in the world. No other hunting compares with it for an instant. Every day I hunt, and I never grow bored now, for I have a quarry with which I can match my wits. Rainsford's bewilderment showed on his face. I wanted the ideal animal to hunt, explained the general. So I said, what are the attributes of an ideal quarry? And the answer was, of course, it must have courage, cunning, and above all, it must be able to reason. But no animal can reason, objected Rainsford. My dear fellow, said the general, there is one that can. But you can't mean, gasped Rainsford. And why not? I can't believe you're serious, General Zaroff. This is a grisly joke. Why should I not be serious? I'm speaking of hunting. Hunting? Great guns, General Zaroff. What you speak of is murder. The general laughed with entire good nature. He regarded Rainsford quizzically. I refuse to believe that so modern and civilized a young man as you seem to be harbors romantic ideas about the value of human life. Surely your experiences in the war did not make me condone cold-blooded murder, finished Rainsford stiffly. Laughter shook the general. How extraordinarily droll you are, he said. One does not expect nowadays to find a young man of the educated class, even in America, with such a naive and, if I may say so, mid-Victorian point of view. It's like finding a snuff box in a limousine. Ah, well, doubtless you had Puritan ancestors. So many Americans appear to have had. I'll wager you'll forget your notions when you go hunting with me. You've a genuine new thrill in store for you, Mr. Rainsford. Thank you. I'm a hunter, not a murderer. Dear me, said the general, quite unruffled. Again, that unpleasant word. But I think I can show you that your scruples are quite ill-founded. Yes?